And the wait is over. We'll start a couple minutes early on this podcast broadcast. Yes, I did have it set up since 9, but that's how long I've had Todd joining me via satellite because I let him know last minute and I didn't want him to have to put pants on to drive in this morning. Weirdo's still out sick, unfortunately, and we wish her a speedy recovery. When I say speedy, I mean like last week, but we'll see.
I'm absolutely offended that you wouldn't think I would just rush in naked to your aid. Like, he needs me now. No time for a shower.
You, naked, and AIDS are the sentences or the words in a sentence I never want to hear. You know what I mean?
Oh, we got the bingo done right away. 3 minutes in.
No, I appreciate it, Jake, but I don't want to beg for money, and I have enough to feed my fat face. In fact, actually, I'll be grocery shopping after the show today and doing laundry, doing all the stuff I should have did yesterday, to be honest with you. But I wanted to have a lazy Sunday and just plug in my phone and not look at my phone for hours because I was glued to my phone all weekend long, and for good reason. I posted a clip on Friday that, was relevant. It was talking about Vince McMahon. It was from our Friday show that you guys were all, a part of. And then I didn't pay attention to it. And I checked back and I'm like, oh, it's actually doing pretty good. And then I went to sleep and I woke up in the morning and it was like at 150,000 views and blowing up. So my first real viral clip is happening right now on Instagram, and it's amazing. We're getting so many people checking out this page, this YouTube page. I'm getting subscribers, getting a lot of followers on Instagram.
I have been trying all morning to drag Beef down, and he has not allowed it. It's been the weirdest day of my life.
Well, I know, and it's a good feeling, though, but it's such a weird thing, too, because the algorithm, you never know what's going to stick. And I don't think this clip that I shared was necessarily my funniest clip. But people are reacting to it very kindly. And, that's just on Instagram. I also uploaded the same clip to TikTok and YouTube Shorts as you would. YouTube, it died immediately. Like they read the transcript and they knew what I was talking about.
In the clip. You can't say dildo in the first 3 seconds.
Right. So what's odd about it on YouTube, the clip is too inappropriate. But on Facebook or just Meta in the metaverse, they're just like, you're in our wheelhouse, son. This is exactly what we want to hear about. So, and I have a lot of comments to share too on this. And I did some responses, which you don't normally want to respond to trolls. And there's some troll comments on there that I'm, not going to respond to because there's no reason for it. Some of them, though, are kind of like setting me up to have funny responses, and I got to come back and let them know at the same time that I don't give a shit. It's all jokes. So good morning, Aaron G. Good morning, Dave. Let's see. I'm trying to understand what you were saying there.
What?
See. Oh, what did you think of the brawl Saturday after the game? No,
context!
Dude, I didn't.
Yes, context.
Oh, you know what? Yeah. Well, yeah. So I didn't see the very end of that game, dude. I was out a little bit before that because the Royal Rumble. I was catching some of the Royal Rumble. So I didn't see that, but I do know the games between the Roadrunners and the Ontario Reign. There was some bad blood there because on Friday night they were going at it like we got whooped on Friday night, right, Todd?
Yeah.
But it was a very exciting game to watch because the fights were so epic. They were fantastic. And there was images. I'm going to show you here. A picture that was taken by Lucas, who is our photographer for the Roadrunners. And he's been doing pretty good on these pictures. And this picture he just caught, it was just perfect. And the matchup was so insane too, because this kid in this fight on our team is like 6'5" without cleats, and he's fighting somebody who's probably about 5'6" without cleats. And they threw down the gloves, which means the refs got to step away and let them fight it out. Okay, and it did not turn out well for the Reigns player, and apparently that bad blood rolled over into the next night. And after, like, at the tail end of the game, they went into a full-blown brawl and were bleeding all over the place. Check out this picture. This is a classic picture. Look at that.
That's a hockey fight right there.
Isn't that beautiful? In a very, like, primal way. Like, yeah, Douglas is 6'9". So okay, so I was off by 3 inches. The guy on skates, towering, right? Just massive dude. And so the kid that he was fighting against, at least a good foot shorter than him. And so when they squared up, everyone was like, "Oh no, you
Uh-oh.
fucked
Literal
up."
punch it down.
Yeah, like, "Oh, this is not gonna end well for you," and it did not. And this was just, like, one of many crazy fights that happened on this weekend, Friday and Saturday, and the AHL, man, the AHL has more fights than the NHL, and these kids are hungry, right? Because they all wanna make it to that next level. They're all fighting for that next job to be called up, and, they're very passionate about it, and I love seeing it, and it's like Friday night, we lost big. And Saturday we made up for it and we beat them 5-4. But even on Friday night, even with us losing big, it was a very exciting game to see and to witness just because of all the fights. You know. So that is a classic looking hockey photo, and that was Lucas in full swing. So, all right, let me show you. I'm gonna pull up my page real quick. This clip that I posted, I didn't think anything of it. Like I said, just a normal clip of joke that's in my wheelhouse. You guys are all familiar with my sense of humor. I'm talking professional wrestling and sex toys. Of course, I was going to talk about it, and it just so happens I'm somewhat the expert. This is my wheelhouse. You know, these two things combined.
The only place the beef vegan Venn diagram crosses over.
Yeah. If I was bred, then these two topics would be my peanut butter and jelly, right? It would make the just classic combination. It's just the perfect storm. All right. So here's the clip, and I'm going to show you this because I'm still like actual viral here. So let me pull this up right now. It says right here, I've reached 99.6 thousand accounts in the last 30 days. That's actually up. It's 199,000. This clip right here, 639,000 views right there. Right there, the Vince McMahon clip, 639,000 views. I've got 150 new followers from it, whatever. Here's the clip in question. Those after wrestlers that he employed. If it was a black dildo, he had a black dildo named Bobby Lashley, who's a wrestler, right? A big white dildo and veiny dildo, that's Brock Lesnar. A dildo that has like a small head but like a big shaft is Kurt Angle because he had a big neck, right? There was a clear dildo that he named John Cena because you can't see it. You know, like it was disturbing. And this is jokes, but real at the same time.
Oh,
He
God.
named his dildos after his wrestlers, and then he would be saying, getting fellatio, and then using a black dildo and be like, "You like Bobby Lashley's dick? Yeah, you do." And that's how he would do it. There it is. So that's the clip, right?
It's what the people want. It's the content people want.
Apparently so. So, like I said, when you see it here, 639,000 views. In fact, actually, by the time we're done with this podcast, it might be 645. That's how it continues to grow. And the fact that it's still getting these hits is pretty crazy and wild. And I'm getting actually like celebrities follow me from this, or, you know, Instagram famous celebrities, DJs. There's a DJ who's certified, who's playing Coachella, who has like 100 or like 200,000 followers on Instagram. He started following my page because of this. And then lots of comments. The comments are a riot. All right. So let's see. And I don't even understand why. I don't understand why this would even happen. But there's some comments, like obviously there was poo in the original court case that was leaked or just released actually publicly. And so this is this GIF right here, covered in mud, is essentially
Why did Vince McMahon? Why did all of this end up in a public document?
Because he did not pay the full $3 million. He agreed to $3 million to pay this woman he was having an affair with. Whether it started off consensual and then it turned into a very twisted, abusive type of relationship if you're based off the information given in this court case. So they're about to make this big deal with TKO, which is the owners of UFC, Ari Emanuel, who's most notably known as being the character Ari in the show Entourage, was based off him. He's a Hollywood super agent, and now they own this conglomerate, the UFC and WWE together. Now, right before they made this deal, Vince McMahon knew the writing was on the wall that this girl had a lot of dirt on him. So he's like, I got to put an end to this, and you got to sign a non-disclosure agreement. So what will it take to get you to not ever tell anybody all the deprived shit I've made you do? And she said $3 million. And he's like, done, right? So
it should be a drop in the bucket for him.
Yeah, he sold the WWE for over $3 billion, and he was still a member of the board, still making money. They just made a deal on Netflix for $5 billion. So all of their business transactions within the past few years, and all the transactions moving forward, are all billion with a B, right? She wanted $3 million with an M. Okay, He gave her $1 million, and then he said, "Fuck it, I'm not paying you the rest."
Dumb, very dumb.
Exactly. And they all know it. So after I did this clip, news came out that, TKO or Vince McMahon officially resigned from his position. And that was the only way they could get rid of him. They weren't able to fire him technically. But they basically were like, you need to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah,
you
resign or we make your life miserable.
Yeah, dude. Like, this is so bad that there's no recovering from it. It's bad. So he resigned. But again, this was all self-inflicted. He still could have been doing
paid the drop in the bucket. Doing. Two more million would have been nothing in all of these expenses. Nothing. A tax write-off.
Right. But since he's so vindictive and he's so cheap that he did not want to pay the other $2 million, then this went out. And the whole thing, we're not going to go through the report on that. Again, it's there and it's jaw-dropping. And I touched on it a little bit. And a lot of it, like, I can't even go through the details on this, which was initially reported in Wall Street Journal, and they went verbatim what was in this court document. But it is so shocking and so graphic that me even reading it verbatim might get this podcast episode flagged and pulled on YouTube for being too pornographic and crazy.
Too much. Can't do it.
All right. Now, I just took a tidbit from it, the funniest part, the one that didn't necessarily include all the sexual abuse, and I made jokes about it because I think the low-hanging fruit there, in my mind, was, okay, he, in text messages, even stated that he names his sex toys and dildos after wrestlers, which is hilarious.
Weird on so many levels.
It makes sense.
He uses wrestlers as just things and assets, and how much he really loves those assets.
Well, but this makes sense because, being a promoter, essentially he's imagining and playing with these characters in his head all day long, right? But then he's kind of sexually fantasizing about it as well, because he had this fetish of doing multiple people, having some gangbangs, threesomes, things like that. And so he would imagine him having a threesome with this girl and one of his favorite wrestlers, whether it be Brock Lesnar or whatever. And then each one of these dildos kind of represented that wrestler. And I made jokes in comparison as to which ones would be named what and why, right? And that went viral. But let's get on here real quick. Rock 102.1 KFMA. That was Green Day's latest, The American Dream Is Killing Me. We're live on a podcast broadcast. You could join us right now and get in on the conversation, or stick around because your TMI Top 5 is coming up after Sleep Theory. The song's called Numb on Rock 102.1. All right, so back to what I was saying.
So back quick to the dildos.
Yeah. So that was the bit, right? And again, people are finding it funny, which I like a lot and I appreciate, but I didn't think it was that funny. So I'm kind of shocked by everything. So here's some of the comments here. Probably played the entrance music too. Heard the big red one was Kane. I got Stop It. That's awesome. Got a lot of ha-ha faces. Of course, when you have this many people seeing your posts, you're going to get trolls commenting as well. And
everybody wants attention.
Yeah, so far, looks like all these are good, but I want to see. Can I even pull up more? I have so many comments on here, but it's not even showing some of the troll posts here.
Because you don't need to see the bad news.
No, I want to because I mean I had some good responses to some. All right, so as of right now, we're at 640,305 plays, 9,400 shares, 700 saves, 7,200 reactions, 341 comments. But you only see a handful of comments here. But if you want and you want some extra entertainment here, you could just go to the comment thread on that post. But why is this important? Well, as we want to expand the show without our boundaries of the FM side, right? The internet knows no boundaries, and we want the show to expand like a syndicate, but we want to do it independently. And to do so, it's utilizing our YouTube show and our podcast. And the more people see and know about this, all roads lead to Rome, right? They're going to lead back to us. The best thing about this and what I'm so proud about is I made clips at the beginning of the year. I've been doing really well. That was my goal going into 2024 was to, have a better reach with my content and shorts and, expanding the show and marketing the show. So right out the gate, I had a Cat Williams clip that had 77,000 views on YouTube and then Theo Vaughn clip and in the Oscars clip and then some content clips that did really well. But, my biggest clips weren't original content clips. They were originally, I edited them, to make it my own. And, yes, I can't play music though, Keith, but I can play music on my FM side. And then there will be ways to work around that here in the future. But the reason why I'm so proud about this clip is because this Vince McMahon clip, this dildo clip is original content. It's just me, talking out my ass. And that's my specialty, as you guys know. And it's connecting and it's working. And I'm like, all right, about motherfucking time. But let's see where this takes us, see where it rolls. But we're starting off of the year strong, essentially, is what I'm talking about. I know, and it is unfortunate I can't play music on YouTube because music is such a big part of my DNA. But I think eventually people will figure that out as well. And I'll be able to take my style of show and put it on larger formats. Platforms. Rock on 2.1 KF, man. Welcome back to Beef Vegan Presents. What? Why are you laughing, Todd?
Projects, platforms, places, things.
Yes.
Words.
Look, I'm trying to sound look at that. I'm trying to sound smart on the podcast broadcast, talking about, behind the scenes stuff. And with that, you need the proper words and the vocabulary. And sometimes I have it, sometimes I don't. It really depends on if my brain waves are connected or I'm just a little fried out. And it really depends on how good of time I had over the weekend. I will say this. I took it easy on the weekend. Only maybe one Jeter. So I feel clear. And then Robert from Late to the Party said he found out about the whole Cat Williams thing because of my clip. So, yeah, we'll talk more about that here in a little bit. And Robert, I'm going to invite you to jump on the podcast as well. All right, we are back here live. Todd Marley is with us as well. And I want to get into your TMI Top 5. Here is a couple of headlines that I've been saving to share with you. This first one, Instacart released a report on our hot sauce preferences. And based off that, which hot sauce do you think is most popular? And I know you're a hot sauce expert, Todd, because you have all these customized hot sauces. But which national brand do you think is the most popular according to the survey?
The most popular national brand, probably something like Frank's hot sauce or something like that, or just plain Tabasco.
Yeah. Frank's hot sauce or Frank's Red Hot is the most popular in the Northeast, but Louisiana hot sauce and Texas Pete's is most popular in the South. And then out here in Arizona, Tapatio.
That checks out. One. Checks out.
Yeah, so that's a legitimate survey right there. I just wanted to share that with you, I guess. Which one's your favorite out of the ones that we just listed?
I don't really like buffalo sauce, so probably the Tapatio, actually.
Tapatio's bomb. I'll tell you which one, no, and this one might surprise you. And I would have to say, I have to thank, what's the name of the place there that's on Stone? It's a barbecue place. I know what this place is called, and I'm losing it, but I had this hot sauce on brisket. And honestly, I probably ate about 5 pounds of brisket just because the combination was so good. And then I was 100% all in on Texas Pete's. Texas Pete's was just so good to me. I don't know what it is. But yeah, Texas Pete's was my favorite in that list. All right. there's a woman that's in trouble because she was driving around in a Bentley. And you know how like a fancy car might have like a fancy hood ornament, right?
Yeah.
Back in the day when you would see like Mercedes, like everyone wanted those hood ornaments, right? And then like Jaguars had cool ones too. That was like an actual Jaguar. This one was kind of like a Jaguar, but different because this woman was driving around with a real life lion on her Bentley. And that's a flex.
Real life lion.
Yeah, like a living lion.
Like a lion. Like
yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's flex. That's one way to put that. Yeah.
I'll show you pictures on the podcast broadcast. She was driving around in a Bentley convertible with a lion riding along as a passenger. And it is believed to be a friend, or she's believed to be a friend of a man who was seen driving the lion cub around. So it's one of those Tiger King scenarios. She was flexing with the lion, but she's in trouble. Now, it's not illegal to own a lion in Thailand, but it must be registered.
Well, you gotta put a seatbelt on it. Duh.
Exactly. And have it in a car seat. Baby lions are kind of like toddlers.
Yeah, really important to keep your lion strapped down in case of an accident.
Yeah. All right, and a final headline here, and this is good news, I guess. A new study out of MIT has found that we may not lose our jobs to robots and AI anytime soon, but down the line, we probably will. So I guess that's bad news for tomorrow. Great news for today. All right, well, that's your TMI top 5. You can join us. I know. You can join us on the podcast broadcast stream, youtube.com/BeefVegan. We got more coming up next on Beef Vegan Presents, so don't go away. All right.
I got hung up just an image of a lion in a car seat, its little paws out, little tail sticking up, flying around in the air.
That would be sweet. Did you ever steal one of those hood ornaments back in the day? Because
No.
I know me and my friends used to collect them. Now, the Mercedes would scare you because they'd be hooked to a cable. And if you tried to pull them off, it would honk the horn.
Oh, yeah. Some of them retracted, too. You tap them at all, and it just sucks back down.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm sending you an invite, Robert. So, because it gets you on here on this Monday. Now, if you're wondering where Weirdo is, I know I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, but Weirdo's out sick. She texted me in the middle of the night, and it didn't look great. Where she said, sorry, hey, sorry, you text about the time. I texted her yesterday too in the afternoon. She texted me at 3:45 in the morning. Said she was feeling better on Saturday during the day, but then whatever the hell this is ran me over again. Not sure what it is, but I'm really sick. Calling to make a doctor appointment today. So hopefully it's nothing serious and she gets well soon. Obviously, we miss her. And it sounds like COVID, but I asked her if she took a COVID test, no response. And I'm thinking that's the case. So we'll see. Bad week to take off though. I mean, we got a lot of eyes and ears on the show and we're trying to build momentum to put me in an optimal position for renegotiating this contract, and everyone's taking off and I'm left to my own devices, which sometimes is good, sometimes is really bad.
Not good. No.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I'm putting together bits where I'm just trying to get myself canceled. But yeah, hopefully it's not COVID. See what Anthony said. Need to make some beef beanies instead of just KFMA. Oh, yeah. We got to get some merch. 10, Sleeping with the Witch killed the stage on Saturday night. You should get Sparky to do the show every so often. He is the best. I 100% agree. And I do got to get Sparky in. And maybe I'll get Sparky in this week. I'll reach out to him. It's good that you're still laughing about the dumb line in a car seat. Stick around for more dumb jokes like that. In fact, let me see some of these comments here that I did want to share with you. Whoa, there's some weird stuff. So this person commented, look closer at some of the wrestlers' names, search first name and last initial in the hub. I don't know what that means.
Like the WWE app or something like that?
Maybe. No, yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. The hub is too vague to do work with at all.
Yeah. So, comments like, what about Jake the Snake? So, what was part of the fun comments on this post that's gone viral is that people are basically throwing out more wrestler names and a dildo equation. So, obviously, I left out Andre the Giant, which would have been a good one to throw out there because that's got to be terrifying. There's lots of different, like Jake the Snake is what somebody commented. They said Vince did every single thing he said and then some. I would have had some doubts, but then he came out with jet black hair and that pencil thin mustache. And you're like, you're absolutely right about that. Vince does look crazy right now. A lot of jokes about The Rock. Wonder what was The Rock. Wait until you see his Big John stud model. You see some of these jokes based off of the era of wrestling fan they were. So Attitude Era or Golden Era, you see all that.
Well, you got to keep reinventing your dildos.
Pretty much.
Making sure they stay current. If you don't keep your dildos current, then what are you doing with your life?
Well, that's a big question as well, because we don't know exactly whose names were associated with what. We just know that he named his dildos after wrestlers, but he's been around forever. So did he go with classic wrestlers? Did he go with modern day wrestlers, right?
It's really how long has he actually been at this?
Possibly a long time. At least 20 years. Yeah. Now, also people initially were referencing, what about those wrestling buddies that everyone had in the 80s? Remember when they first came out? Did you have one of those? Like Hulk Hogan dolls?
Yeah, I had a Sting wrestling buddy.
Well, no, Sting wasn't WWF. So that's
I had the off-brand equivalent then.
Okay. Well, the initial ones that everyone, and we talked with Slobby Robbie about these actually not too long ago. They were like rubber. So they were basically made of the material that you would make a dildo with. So when at first I saw this, I just assumed he was using those actual action figures as sex toys, but that wasn't the case.
That's even worse.
I know. All right. Joining us back on the stream. It's been a minute since we caught up with Robert. Good morning, Robert. Good to see you, dude.
What's up, guys? So excited to be here. Monday. Kicking it off, man.
I know, dude. I know. We got a lot of catching up to do too. And I'm trying to join the club. And Robert's always had this large fingerprint as far as following online and subscriber base and YouTube. Oh, don't be humble. You have close to 200,000 subscribers. Was it 140? That's close enough. Yeah. And it continues to grow.
It's consistency, man. You know the game, dude. You just got to keep putting stuff out over and over. But yeah, that Cat Williams thing, like I didn't know it was a thing. And then I saw your story and I was like, what is this? And dude, I fell down a rabbit hole of ended up watching the entire pod, like the chat that they ended up having just because of your short. So it helps.
Well, this is the mentality that I just kind of clicked on for me now too, because normally I would just focus in on OC, like original content of what we're doing, right? But at the same time, I'm like, wait a second, no, we're a lifestyle brand and we talk about these pop culture things and we're also reporting on it. So now I'm like, okay, if it's something that we're going to talk about, I will clip it up and I will share it and report on it as well. And basically, this is a way to showcase to people online what we're all about. Because it's more than just one genre. Like someone was like, oh, great, another wrestling podcast. Like, no. We're a podcast that has talked about wrestling and will talk about wrestling, but we're definitely not a wrestling podcast,
Yeah, like I'm a guy who hasn't cheered for anything WWE related in over 20 years. And the Royal Rumble got me cheering. So
nice. What about the Royal Rumble did you cheer about this year?
I'm not gonna lie, Jade Cargill, like I've been waiting for Jade to show up. So as soon as she popped out, but dude, like the girls just kicked so much butt in that match, dude. Like it was engaging. I wanted to watch it, and it breaks my heart that like I'm a fan of AEW as well, and I was a lifelong WWE fan up until the Ruthless Aggression era. But the girls, man, I want to see what the girls are capable of. In AEW, they've got some great talent. They had Jade Cargill,
they did,
but now we get to see her performing with other girls that I think are more so on her level. And that's going to be exciting to see. And the Rumble just gave us a taste of that.
Yeah, she had a breakout performance. People were excited to have her back. And honestly, the Royal Rumble as a whole was kind of mid, but it was the women's Royal Rumble match that was definitely the highlight of the show. And it kicked everything off. So and there were no legends, there were no retired superstars that came out. So there's so much talent in that pool where everyone has a unique, distinctive personality as well, and they look like megastars. It was great. So yeah, I rewatched it just for the women's Royal Rumble, and then the men's was like, Brock Lesnar was supposed to come back to the Royal Rumble, but he didn't. And that's because of the information that was released last week with Vince McMahon, because he allegedly, Vince McMahon's mistress, was part of the deal for Brock Lesnar to resign. Vince is like, you could bang my bitch if you resign. And so he gave Brock the phone number of Janelle Grant, who was the mistress in question. Brock texts her and says, hey, send me a video of you urinating.
Yeah,
is what it says in the report.
Yeah.
And then that's what else it says. So she does it. She sends him a video, and he texts back one word: bitch.
Yeah, that sounds like something probably Brock would do. Somebody just very angry and pent up would probably just reply that way to any female that would respond.
Yes,
we see it a lot online.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that information came out because I wanted to see Brock Lesnar back, but I understand why. It's like not the good time. But since he wasn't able to make it to the Royal Rumble, his spots of what he was going to do were given to Braun Breaker.
Okay.
And his spot, as far as him going in to the Royal Rumble, instead of WWE or Triple H getting somebody else, since they already wrote out the script long ago, they just decided it would be better to just surprise Pat McAfee with an entry. And that was a waste of an entry. And yeah, obviously people are upset about that.
I went back. I was rewatching 1999's, I believe, Royal Rumble, because on Peacock you can see like everything WWE has ever done, which is awesome for anybody who is like an old school fan. But it reminded me of the whole Drew Carey scenario where they had Drew Carey come out and all he did was just kind of stand around and then he just jumped out of the ring over the top rope. Same thing, but at least he had a little bit of showmanship to it. McAfee just went and stood on the apron, jumped in, jumped out, jumped in, and then jumped out, and that was it. Waste of time.
Yes, it was. But if you looked at him, he wasn't dressed to wrestle at all. He had cowboy boots on. He wasn't. That was an honest rib. In the back, they were all cracking up into the headphones over this.
Right.
So the whole thing, it was just a big waste.
And if it's a situation in which they are needing to fill a spot because it's an emergency spot, yeah, sure, they could have pulled any number of superstars that maybe weren't in the Rumble that happened to be there, maybe from an earlier match. But then you're starting to add more to something that maybe wasn't going to be that big to begin with. Because if you're replacing Brock Lesnar was going to go in there and do some work. They obviously had to change that entire game up. And sure, they could have had somebody come out and mess around for a little bit, then get thrown out. But if it really was more so of like a last minute thing, like I get it. You start pulling for things that are going to kind of get like a pop, and they've already done that McAfee thing in the past.
Yeah.
And so they were just kind of going back to the well to get like a cheap pop, and they got it. But yeah, once you do it one too many times, it's kind of old. And at that point it was old.
Yeah, it was old, and it definitely pissed people off. So it left them with a bad taste in their mouth. And then, but it really, if Vince McMahon would have paid the extra $2 million, we would have had Brock Lesnar in the Royal Rumble, and then we would have had Dominic Mysterio throw Brock Lesnar out of the Royal Rumble, because essentially that's how it was scripted. So we didn't get any of that, and maybe that's why the men's Royal Rumble fell flat.
It's for the best, man. I'm tired of Brock Lesnar just going in there and chucking everybody out and then standing around until the next person comes in and he chucks that person out.
He would have been eliminated, though, so he wasn't going to win.
I agree, yeah. And that's what happened last time. I think it was Drew McIntyre when, after Brock just eliminated everybody, McIntyre ended up coming out the next Rumble and ended up eliminating him. I don't know. Like I said, I've been watching from like the shadows for the last few years, but maybe I'm starting to get into it. We're going to AEW live next month in a couple weeks, actually.
Yeah,
I'm going with Matthew from Tucson Foodie. We're going to go up to AEW and watch that.
Oh, nice. Matthew's into wrestling too?
No, not at all. But I just drag him along. I drag him along to do it.
He's just a good friend.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting that we like WWE right now and professional wrestling itself is kind of peaking. And based off the business deals, you would assume that it's only going to grow from here because that Netflix deal is a big deal. But their ratings, their attendance, their revenue has all been breaking records and continues to break previous records. Now, of course, with the stigma of the scandal, it led to a press conference. I'm going to share some of that here. Rock 102.1 KFMA, welcome back to Beef Vegan Presents. We're talking wrestling with Robert from Late to the Party and the Royal Rumble. But did you watch the press conference after the Royal Rumble, Robert?
I did, yeah. I watched a bit of Cody's, and then I watched a bit of what Triple H was saying as well during the press conference.
Yeah, so the thing that's interesting about this is initially you think, and if this was AEW, well, actually, I will give credit to both organizations. Their press conferences, which are, in a way is somewhat staged, right? These are kind of like quote unquote journalists, but in the loosest sense of the term. Like you'll get like a journalist, they'll introduce themselves before they ask a question, and they'll be like, "Hey, it's Bobby Joe from Bobby Joe's Wrestling Podcast," So that's like the extent of different journalists that are at these press conferences after big events. So I would get the feeling that it's like, okay, here's the deal. When we go into this press conference, do not bring up Vince McMahon. Right when AEW had a press conference, when recent allegations of Chris Jericho came out of sexual misconduct, you would think that they would ask them, do not mention Chris Jericho. But they actually did not give them any of those, or that I known of, because when the press conference was happening, there were journalists that did ask actual journalistic questions, referring to the big scandal that broke out within the company a couple days prior. We got a whole bunch of nothing answers, but in a very professional way. And at least WWE, Cody Rhodes, and Triple H addressed it in a respectful way. It was a respectful way to say no comment, I mean, at no point did it seem like they were hiding anything. But I wish I had the audio pulled right now. But I thought to myself while watching that, I'm like, that is the best way to deflect. To deflect, but while still taking ownership without incriminating and making a bad situation worse. And Tony Khan from AEW needed to take notes because he made that situation way worse when he was asked these questions.
Khan is
terrible.
Awful. But here's the thing, Khan, obviously Tony Khan has the money for AEW. The issue that I think Tony Khan, I mean, there's a lot, but when it comes to Tony Khan, I just don't think he has the personality for it. He does he feels awkward, and that's fine. You can be an awkward business owner. That is absolutely fine. The problem is we've seen many, like Jim Cornette, Vince McMahon, many of those showrunners, people that have run with these territories and these leagues of, wrestling over the past, many years and transformations from company to company. Like these guys have an edge to them, and that's the way you got to be if you're going to run this type of company and be the poster boy for it too. And Khan just doesn't have that. He's very soft and he can be pushed around, and he just doesn't really have the intestinal fortitude, as they used to say in the Attitude Era. But yeah, he doesn't know how to handle that. Triple H knows how to handle that. Cody Rhodes knows how to handle it. So the fact that they were able to come up with an answer, deflect it at the same time, focus more on the positive, which was the running theme. We had a great night. Let's talk about the amazing things that have happened. And granted, it is early on. It just happened. So we don't know all the details. So it's easier for them to be able to say, well, we can't really talk about it. Don't know what's going on. And let's just focus on the win. So it is smart on their part to be able to deflect in that way. But like you said, because the legitimacy of the actual press conferences has gotten more real in the past few years, they're getting better at it.
And that's the thing, because if we didn't get or hear any of those questions at all during either of those press conferences, then the internet would have called shenanigans on the whole thing. Be like, what's the point of this dog and pony show if you're literally going to just do softball questions.
Right.
But that's essentially what those press conferences are made for anyways. And I guess they want to kind of legitimize it. And if you're thinking to yourself, you're not a professional wrestling fan, and you're thinking to yourself, a press conference after a wrestling event sounds like the dumbest thing ever. What would they even ask? But no, there is a lot of behind the scenes information that people do like getting from these press conferences, like, the gate, like how much money they're making, how many people showed up, what direction they're going to go with storyline. And sometimes they even let you peek behind the curtain, so much so where they give you the reasons why they made the decision to have somebody win or lose.
There's a lot of extra curricular info that people do want to know, especially when it came to the inclusion of the TNA superstars that came over to the Royal Rumble, especially the ladies Royal Rumble, which was incredible, man. Those girls killed it, especially their champion from TNA. And I know even it was something I wanted to know more about, and Triple H, kind of talking a little bit of crap about the forbidden door that is used over at AEW by Tony Khan.
Yes.
And that's stuff I want to see, man. This is how they're going to be able to exponentially grow their companies, is the cross promotion of superstars from one to another. It worked for ECW, WCW, and WWF back in the day. Granted, it could have been done a heck of a lot better, but people loved when the Dudley Boys ended up showing up in the WWF. They love when you start bringing in these ECW stars trickle in. So I love that they're doing that with TNA, and I wanted to know more about the behind the scenes of that. And of course, Triple H touched on that.
Yeah, and in fact, actually, the big loser of the night wasn't Vince McMahon. It definitely was Tony Khan, because there were two swipes at AEW and attacks. One was, of course, including TNA over any other organization, and that's to make TNA stronger, then taking a swipe at what TNA would often refer to as the Forbidden Door and calling it lame, even referring to that, right? Yeah, it is ridiculously dumb. So having that comment and including TNA in their program to make TNA stronger was definitely like a 1-2 punch going straight after Tony Khan, and basically it's a war that Triple H publicly won't say that he's in, but he's getting a kick out of kicking the billionaire boy's ass. We're going to keep the conversation moving on the podcast broadcast. We got more coming up after Nirvana on Rock 102.1 KFMA. I say that, but I don't think I'm going to play Rape Me. I don't want to play that song. Or Linkin Park for the third time today. All right, give me a request, guys. What do you want to hear? Put it in the comments. Give me a good request. Nothing lame. Nothing lame, bro. I think, okay, so I said TNA being included, and then Triple H making that reference. Yeah, so those are the two swipes.
Yeah.
I'm trying not to forget.
And I mean, TNA, dude, like TNA has had a resurgence just in the last couple weeks too, like more on my radar. And I watched TNA back in the day, but the fact that it has popped up more recently to where it's back in the conversation, because you weren't hearing TNA at all, at least not in my circle, until the last couple weeks. So it's pretty awesome that they're starting to utilize these positions, and WWE utilizing their position of power to be able to shine the light on up and comers. Yes, I know that's what NXT is for, but there are other doors in which there is talent coming through. And the fact that they were able to swipe up Jade Cargill, the fact that they were able to take Cody Rhodes and make him, what is so crazy to me, a huge main event superstar in the company, which I never thought would happen.
Right.
And they're going for it.
And
like, I
CM
didn't
Punk.
think he'd win again. Yeah. And they took back CM Punk. So yeah, it's like, they're using AEW as that forbidden door, but it's funny that AEW is not taking the chance to utilize these stars properly before they get swiped. And I think it might end up happening with MJF, Maxwell Jacob Friedman. If you don't know,
thought he was going to show up. I thought he was going to show up at the Rumble, honestly. And the internet thought so too.
Yeah, because his contract expired in January, and we haven't heard anything about a re-up. And so they were saying that if he lost the belt to Samoa Joe in December, that more than likely he was going to start making his way over to WWE. He even said during a press conference that WWE contacted him, and Tony Khan almost blew a gasket. You can see it in his face. He freaked out when he, by word, mentioned WWE. But then again, MJF has also mentioned Edge by name and not Adam Copeland. And Tony Khan freaked out about that too. I think MJF would do wonders in WWE, but I don't know if they want him. I think he was the champion for AEW, but then again, they'd be happy if they just stole everybody from AEW besides the old school fans. They're done with
everyone that's printing money for them, and they do. And I know that Todd's been looking blankly like a deer in the headlights, all this wrestling talk. Real quick, Anthony, I got Soul Coughing coming up. That's next. Unfortunately, Lisa, I don't have Dynamite Hacks, Boys in the Hood, or Fugitive in my playlist by Blast Furnace, but I'll try to record them after the show today and upload them for future play. Now, Todd, do a screen share with me of the game that you're playing that you were talking about today.
Oh, I was talking about earlier. Sure.
Yeah, because this game you're talking about is like breaking records.
Pal World.
Have you heard of this? Now, Robert, are you a gamer at all? Do you ever fuck around with the games?
Yes and no. Mostly campaign. I don't do multiplayer just because I don't know. It just gets repetitious for me. But yeah, mostly campaign games for, story driven stuff. PS5.
Yeah. Okay. So Pal World, he was telling me about this, and what were some of the stats and numbers you were giving me?
So this came out, I guess about a week ago now. It came out on January 19th. So yeah, just about 10 days ago now. And immediately on release sold about 3 million copies. In early access and so that's just Steam numbers and I think PlayStation numbers. It is on Game Pass on Xbox, so we don't have those numbers, but it was available there as well on Steam alone, which means on PC, on the primary PC platform that it's on. It's not set the number 2 record for most concurrent players ever on Steam, with the number 1 going to, I believe, Rust when it launched officially. And so we're talking almost 3 million concurrent players, and it is now up to almost 9 million copies sold. It's been in early access for 10 days. It provides a bunch of adjectives that should not be legal to actually all stuff together. It's got the factory building of Factorio and Satisfactory. It's got the adventure and exploration of Breath of the Wild. It's got the combat of Dark Souls. It's got the creatures of Pokemon, and it's got guns. It's too many things stuffed together into one in this open world multiplayer crafting survival game, where it's people calling it a Pokemon ripoff is being far too reductive. It takes the Pokemon concept and then adds 5 different layers on top of it. Pocket Pair, which is the company that is also behind the game Craftopia, pretty notorious for just going, yeah, we are ripping off all of the systems that we like from all of the games that we like, and shamelessly stuffing it into our game. And
how can they get away with that though?
It works
because it's obviously copyright infringement. Is it?
Nintendo was not the first person to do Pokemon or a monster capture game. There was Dungeon Monsters before that, and all of those owe their DNA to Monster Rancher.
Graphics look nice. I mean,
for an early access game, it's quite pretty. The multiplayer still got a solid amount of jank, but it is in version 0.1.3 right now, and still has this many concurrent players.
So as long as it works, I mean, then I think the success will carry and continue. But if the game doesn't work very well, which, I mean, obviously from what they're showing there, it looks beautiful. But
for what it is, it's pretty, it's stable. It's got way more content than their version number says. I think that's the developer giving themselves breathing room.
Right.
See, and something like that, like the MMORPGs, and then what is it, Fortnite, and all that stuff. I mean, I've got friends that it's their weekly thing. If you know the people that don't game a whole lot, but they will go play Fortnite with their friends every Friday night. It's like a thing. But when it comes to like the MMORPG, I end up feeling overwhelmed, and I feel directionless and don't know where to go and what to do. And then I just quit and I go back and play Dead Space or something. But yeah, if it works, like I could see the success, especially like you said, it's combining all the elements of very successful games that are out there. But there's been quite a few attempts to try and do something to pull everybody away from Fortnite. But if you add those Pokemon elements, this might work.
This is a very different game than Fortnite. I don't think it's going to. I think you're going to have a cross pollination of players that already exist between these genres of games. A lot of people that do play the Fortnites are also going to have another game on the side where it's this survival crafting game. And now that you have survival crafting Pokemon, it's been a combination that is going to be successful. That has already proven successful in this last week. And all they have to do is not shoot themselves in the face. And this is going to be an all-timer.
How would they shoot themselves in the face?
Just, I don't know, patch things that the players don't like, not listen to the community, not engage with what the community is telling them that they want out of this, or what their feedback. All they have to do is listen to the feedback, find the constructive bits of it, put that into the game, and keep going. I mean, they've already built something that is quite successful, that just really, if they had spent another 6 months in the can and just ironed out what they have right here into a smooth experience and sent it out into the world, it'd probably be fine. So the fact that they are so far back on the version numbers makes me very hopeful for the content that they're going to add. And the multiplayer aspect, as I talked about earlier, it's a very janky right now, and it feels like a very rush implementation to put out there to just be like, it exists. There's no PvP multiplayer. It's all cooperative at the moment. But they do have PvP plans in the future because, of course, people are going to want to fight their pals.
Pals.
They're pals. Yes,
your pals. They are called your pals. And it's already,
funny.
there is a little controversy behind the game as well. The developer is known for using AI, has made an AI game. Well, made a game that uses AI as a game mechanic. They didn't use AI to make the game. They made a game where it was about taking prompts and feeding it to an AI to make art, and then it was picking out who got the prompt that was different from everybody else's. So a nice little a game that uses AI and shows the future. And so this game, people were like, well, you used AI here, so you may use AI to make all these characters, and maybe, but there's no proof behind it. And Nintendo is not going to sue them at all. If Nintendo was going to sue them, it would have happened by now. But that's the other one that's out there. Is they're ripping off Pokemon too much.
Yeah, dude. I mean, you see them right there. They're definitely like Pokemon. You can see the characters.
Legally distinct.
All right. Well, with that though, how close are some of these games to actually utilizing AI and having AI in the game? Because I'm thinking with Grand Theft Auto 6, like if their NPCs AI, essentially it's like the movie Free Guy, right? At what point are these characters going to be sentient?
That exists.
It exists where?
It exists. There is a mod made for Skyrim where all the NPCs are hooked to artificial intelligence, so it can create dynamic dialogue. It is not great. It's not at a point yet where it could keep up with such a world like that and the lore and the background of individual characters and keeping track of each individual NPC and their backstories of what they'd have to say, how they're going to say it.
Let me ask you this. Would you continue to play a game if you say, obviously in these games, you shoot them up, right? You kill a lot of people, a lot of randos. Would you continue to play a game if you killed somebody, an NPC, and then all of a sudden the NPC's wife came running up, grieving and crying and be like, oh, no, not Charles, and all that shit. Would you continue to play that game?
I'd probably
okay. Assuming that game is fun and I'm enjoying
I'm going to ask that question again on the air. We got 5 seconds. Hard-hitting questions here.
Yeah.
Rock on 2.1 KFMA. That's Flagpole Sitta. Welcome back to the show. As we got Todd Marley and Robert from Late to the Party on the podcast broadcast stream. We just featured a game that called Pow World that is taking the world by storm and breaking all types of record numbers. And also, we talk about AI being utilized by these game developers. Now, with Grand Theft Auto 6 being announced, and of course, that release getting a lot of people excited about, and technology as it's rapidly evolving, leads me to ask you this question to both Robert and Todd. With these games utilizing AI for their NPCs, which is non-playable characters, right? Mm-hmm. If they get so advanced to where you're playing a game and you kill an NPC, and an NPC's spouse or significant other runs up and starts visibly mourning and crying the murder that you just did in that game, would you continue to play the game, or would you stop playing that game immediately? Now, Todd, what were you going to say on this?
Well, assuming that I am enjoying this game, it would depend on what that feedback loop was, and if that's like, am I still being rewarded for killing this guy? Am I getting what I need out of doing this? Then I can ignore the grieving. It's a game. It's not real. I can make that separation in my brain. If the gameplay loop is feeding me back that these are real world consequences that I have to pay attention to, then I'm probably not killing that guy in the first place.
Okay. Well, Lisa on the stream said yes, F that NPC. Robert, what do you say?
It's funny. It reminds me of this community episode called Digital Estate Planning, where they all end up going into a video game and end up basically they utilize it in their own character style of ways. And one of them ends up, they kill a character and the wife comes out and is crying and so upset. And one of the characters ends up consoling her, marrying her, and having lots of kids with her. So yes. There's different ways you could play it. I'd probably just kill her depending on how much money I could get out of it. It's a game. But yeah.
It's a game. Keep reiterating. It's just a game, guys.
Yeah. It's a game. You have to be able to separate.
Digital Estate Planning from Community. I believe it's at the end of season 3. It's definitely
it's a fantastic episode. Absolutely.
Gus Fring from Breaking Bad, Giancarlo Esposito, who's going to be at Phoenix Comic Con later this year. He's in that episode, and it's fantastic. But yeah, I mean, it depends. If you can separate that it is a game, yeah, sure. I'm going to probably not be the best depending on what the game calls for, but Am
I doing
really
an evil
come down to
playthrough?
Dissociation. Yeah, right. Like I went through the Mass Effect trilogy. Not true. I got to game 3 and stopped after about 3 hours again. But I always do Paragon and Renegade typically for one of the two. Sorry, got choked up.
Well, now you're speaking in different language. It's right over my head on that.
That's good or bad.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to continue the conversation on the podcast broadcast. Your beef tip is coming up next. If you want to weigh in on this, would you kill an NPC if the AI was so advanced that they would actively and visibly grieve against you and keep playing that game? I want to know. 600 KFMA, sound off, and we'll keep the conversation moving on the podcast broadcast and wrap up the show next. Beef Vegan Presents.
I mean, aren't there scenes like that in Red Dead?
There are scenes. Probably. But not by NPCs randomly, where like if you just kill someone, they react kind of visibly and mad or run away, but they don't grieve the person that you kill.
That's true. Yeah. You just get the whole emotional breakdown of a character because you killed another character.
Well, no, actually, you know what? And I want to take that back because I was watching a clip because Red Dead is on my Google algorithm. So there was a player, it did show you if you do this one part, like if you're playing the game, you guys all played Red Dead, right?
Yeah.
So there's a part in the game where, remember when Arthur has to go after a bounty, and that bounty is kind of educating his son when you roll up to him, right? So there's 2 examples I'll give you, which is odd, and Red Dead thinks of everything. But okay, so the bounty, you go up to this bounty, and they're in a swamp, and this guy is trying to get his son to learn how to ride a horse. And his wife is kind of like saying, oh, take it easy on him. He'll get it. Like if you recall that scene. So sure. The object of that game is that scene is you're supposed to get the guy and then take him in to jail. And then his son will run off and tell his friends that you caught him and they'll attack you. But they showed you in Red Dead Redemption that if you instead murder this guy's wife in front of him, he will freak the F out and then continue to call you a murderer and grief. So like he'll call you a murderer all the way to him going to jail. And then you drop him off in jail. If you go back to visit the jail, then he will continue to cry and call you a murderer and tell the sheriff, like, this is the guy you should be arresting. He killed my wife, So that's Red Dead Redemption. That's one scene. There's another scene, and you're all familiar with the pig farmer, right?
Yeah.
Pig farmer, that's with his like sister, and they live in a house, and they're kind of inbreedy, right? The sister's hot, got big fake, big computer generated boobs. My sister. Right.
Yeah, not the first memory I have of that, but sure, go ahead.
She's hot. And in the game, like if you just allow them to do whatever, they're gonna drug you and you're gonna wake up robbed and sodomized. But if you kill the sister immediately when you come out and you shoot and kill the sister, the pig farmer will get so enraged he will chase you for the rest of your days. Like you could literally run across states, and the pig farmer, if you're slow enough, will continue to be chasing you, trying to kill you because he'll be so upset that you murdered his sister/wife.
It's like in The Other Guys when Brett Gelman just like randomly shows up, still chasing Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg to sleep with his wife. Sleep with my wife. He says something else, but yeah, that reminds me of that. Or It Follows, where no matter where you go, that damn thing just keeps popping up like Pepe Le Pew.
Yeah, that's a date in Red Dead Redemption too. So it's brilliant on that, and just another sign of just Rockstar just going the extra mile and thinking of all different scenarios, right?
Right.
Yeah. Well, my beef tip is not even a tip today. I think it just
that's the whole thing.
I think just y'all need to go play Red Dead for real. Have you not?
I know. Oh, that should be the beef tip. It's Power's birthday today, so if you guys aren't doing anything, you could message him happy birthday. But what he'll do in response is send you the YouTube clip of his news interview on K-Gun 9. So
I did see he was on there. Congratulations, Frank, and happy birthday.
Yeah, but I was like, hey, so I texted him this morning because I saw it on Facebook. It was a notification like, hey, dude, happy birthday. And then he's just like, toot birthday, thanks, yo, and then sent me the clip. I'm like, I got it. I seen it. I already reacted to it on Facebook.
Shameless, man. Got to do it.
Shameless. Well, I mean, like, is your birthday wish is for me to watch this YouTube clip? You're not monetizing this. This is K-Gun. And I'm not looking to hire you to entertain any small children right now. I don't have any small children to entertain. What's the purpose here? I guess. I'll repost it.
Just to see how good he looks, man.
I mean, I see he looks. It's standard Powers, full outfit. I seen the outfit.
That is his birthday suit. That birthday suit is his birthday suit.
It is. Rock on 2.1 KFMA. Welcome back to the show. We only have a couple minutes before we wrap things up, but don't forget, you could always subscribe and watch the podcast broadcast in its entirety. YouTube.com/beefvegan. And while you're on YouTube, well, I guess you could try to search Powers there randomly, but I want to wish Powers a happy birthday. And you could search the Comic Book Mobile at K-Gun 9's YouTube page to see this piece that K-Gun 9 did on Powers and the Comic Book Mobile, and how he and his multiple voices inside his head can entertain your children for hours on end. The Comic Book Mobile. I say this because he's holding his puppets. If you see Powers in action when he goes into character, he has conversations with himself in character that is wildly entertaining. But at the same time, you think if nobody's around, he's having these conversations as well. But yeah, I'm trying to give him a friendly plug and it turned into an insult. So I apologize. All right.
It's not Beef's fault. It's all he knows.
I'm just like, no, seriously, let him entertain libraries and stuff. He's not like crazy at all.
Super proud of you, Powers, off the air. He won't stop talking about you. He's super jealous.
Happy birthday. And it's great seeing you on the video in your birthday suit. Stole that joke from Robert. All right, let's get into your beef tip. Therapist shared a list of phone habits that might actually be a sign of anxiety. And if you're doing these things, you might have phone anxiety and just anxiety in general. So number 1, doom scrolling. Number 2, avoiding people by using your phone. I think we've all done that, standing in line somewhere. The ability to put your phone down and panic when your phone isn't working. Now, if you're experiencing any of those 4 things or all 4 of those things, it may not be that you're addicted to your phone. It may be that you're addicted to your own anxiety and you're dealing with anxiety. So address the anxiety, and then the phone issues like doom scrolling won't continue to happen, I'm assuming. And that's a beef tip. Kind of.
Beef suggestion.
Beef suggestion. Yes. And make sure you say happy birthday to Powers. And that's a beef tip as well. Robert, thank you so much for joining the show. As always, late to the party is the YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe to that. Todd Marley. Thank you again. I'll see you tomorrow as well. All right. Till then, Robert Nash is up next. You guys enjoy the rest of your day. Drive safe, ride safe. And as always, rock local. Later.
When you wish
I'm like, yeah, you guys should, follow Powers. Wish him happy birthday. Fuck that guy.
Happy birthday, Powers.
Yeah.
Mr. Powers.
I was gonna say we learned something today, but I don't actually think we did.
Probably right about that.